Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ohio State Primetime Live. I'm your co-host, Ryan Stano.
I'm Garrison Gaddy.
Well, Garrison, we were hoping to come here on this show on Thursday with smiling faces, and we both are grinning ear to ear. So that's when you know it was a great game. Rose Bowl was a big, fat blowout. Ohio State 41, Oregon 21. This game, Ohio State started out with a 34-8 halftime lead, and they were up 30-0. At one point, 31-0. I mean, everything that went right could have possibly gone right for Ohio State. I know there's a lot of things to cover here in this game, but what are your initial thoughts, Garrison? Just hit me with your stream of consciousness.
Dude, I was I was really surprised. I was with my family watching this game. Matter of fact, while we're here, let me go ahead and let me show you this. Just so I don't know if you saw this, just so everyone else can see. I'll show you what it was like in the Gaddy household. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful scene. This is after the first touchdown, man. This is after the first touchdown, and OH. Dude, it was one of the greatest days of my Buckeye life. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was really surprised with it. What happened, Ryan, was something that we talked about, where if Ohio State were to play their A game, I think we both agree that they would win by like 10 points. But never did I think this would happen.
No.
Well, what were your initial thoughts? Like, just before we get to a deep dive.
We both talked about the fact that we thought these were two evenly matched teams. We thought this game was going to showcase the two best teams in the country. And I did not see them doing basically what they did against Tennessee. I mean, this game wasn't close at any point.
Nope.
They were clicking on all cylinders on offense once again. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's a freak. We'll talk about him. Offensive line played great. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later too. It was just everything that went right could have gone right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, I know we were both concerned about the coaching aspect. We both were concerned that Dan Lanning might have some things up his sleeve. He might outcoach Ryan Day, and it was the exact opposite. Ryan Day outcoached Dan Lanning. I mean, it was as big of an ass kicking as you possibly could have wanted from this team. It was, in the second half, I mean, you could clearly tell they kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. They weren't being nearly as aggressive. They were trying to run the ball more, take more time off the clock, because they knew they had it in the bag with the way their defense was playing. And even, that first drive coming out of the second half where Oregon scored a touchdown, they still took 6 minutes to do that. Yeah. And turned to my friends, and I was like, look, if they're going to take 6 minutes on each of these drives to score touchdowns, that's fine. We're still going to win the game. So it was domination in a way I'm not quite sure I thought they could dominate against a team as good as Oregon.
Yeah. So you want to start with the offense or the defense first?
You know what? I want to start with the offense, because the offense is what started off with the fireworks. So I specifically want to talk about the offensive MVP, Jeremiah Smith, because the man is amazing as a freshman. I mean, he's 19 years old, and he goes out there and he basically tells Oregon what he's going to do before he does it. I mean, the day before interviews, he's like, hey, they better not cover me one-on-one, because then we're going to take deep shots and I'm going to cook you. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, 7 catches, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. And again, they took their foot off the gas in the second half. Yep. So he could have had more. Like, it could have been worse. Ohio State they clearly made it a point to focus on him early and often in this game, in which they should. He's their best player. And Oregon really had no answers for him. And he's the best player left in the college football playoff, just bar none, on any side of the ball for any team.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith, he's had a a great season as a freshman. Broke all Chris Carter's records, for his freshman records. But this was the coming out party game. This was the one. You go out there, you do it in the Rose Bowl. I think he posted the highest PFF grade in playoff history. Like it's, I think for a wide receiver. But just you said it right. He told you what not to do. He told you what not to do. And the funnier part, man, is even when you double teamed him,
couldn't stop him.
And some games ago, I think it was the Tennessee game, and they were talking about this on the broadcast, and they said Ryan Day told Will Howard from the helmet up. That's where you throw it to Jeremiah, from the helmet up. And man, he was outstanding on that second touchdown. Turned the safety around, and truth be told, that safety was scared because they went cover one. He's back there by himself with Jeremiah Smith.
To be honest, it wasn't even that good of a route. He just kind of turned right, and the guy lost his mind.
He was scared.
Yeah,
scared shitless, man. And I don't blame him. And you could tell because Jeremiah pointed right at him after the touchdown. Just pointed at him.
Yeah,
it was a spectacular game by him.
He was great. Will Howard was great also. I mean, and Ohio State, it wasn't just that they were scoring touchdowns. It was they were scoring them in big chunks of yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were scoring quickly. They had 2-play drives, 3-play drives. Like they were getting out in a hurry into the end zone. And so Oregon, all of a sudden, you blink once and all of a sudden, it's 21-0, 28-0. Like they had no answers for what Ohio State wanted to do offensively. And for Will Howard to play 2 of his 3 best games against Oregon, the first matchup, he played really well. He had 326 passing yards against Oregon, and then to back it up against the same defense and go 17-26. He had only 17 completions, but they were for 319 yards. I mean, that tells you just the chunks of yards they were getting. There's 3 touchdowns, and the ball to Emeka was beautiful. I mean, that touchdown pass could not have been thrown any better. Just dropped it right over the defender's shoulder, head, and just right into the breadbasket. He was phenomenal.
I couldn't believe that touchdown pass. I couldn't believe it.
I thought
it would be a pick.
And look, I'm if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure I knew that Howard had this in him. I didn't know that he could reach this level of play this consistently because he did this against Tennessee too. Like this is, we can firmly say this is not a fluke situation. He's balling right now. And if he's going to throw for over 300 yards every game, I don't see how Ohio State doesn't end up holding the trophy on January 20th. He was that good. And what were your thoughts about Howard? Because I've run out of superlatives for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a nail on this right now. I was asked all week and by a bunch of Oregon people in Spaces if Dylan Gabriel or Will Howard was better. I'll give him a bone. I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I guess DG's a little bit better. No, Will Howard is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. He was the best quarterback in the Big Ten all season. I don't care about his 9 interceptions. Don't care about him.
Yeah,
Will Howard, man, he's. And that Cal McCord conversation, we finished it a long time ago, me and you did.
You and I have been on the same page all year. Yeah.
It's Will Howard, like the leader he's been for this team is one thing. Like he's been an awesome leader. He's always taking it upon himself, doesn't credit himself for anything, always gives everyone else the credit, takes all the blame. But man, his play this season has just been outstanding.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. He's had one bad game all season. He's had one bad
Michigan game.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's his coaches put him in that bad situation.
Yes. And for him to come out and go back-to-back games like this, and what's really cool about it is that from the get-go, the coaches are telling him, "Hey, you're gonna come out here and throw this ball." And I think that the coaches having that much confidence in him and his teammates having that much confidence in him is why he's playing this good. Outside of him just having It looks like Will Howard always had the talent. Sorry, Kansas State. Looks like he always had it in him.
Yeah. It's funny. Kansas State fans were saying, "Oh, he was going to be the starter anyway." Avery John's like, "Okay,
Oh yeah,
have fun.
that conversation's over with too.
Have fun." Yeah. And the running game was also really solid. And they leaned into more of that in the second half once the game was out of hand. But I mean, Travion again, 66-yard burst for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 8 carries for 90, but he got 94 yards on him. And those last 2 carries at the end of the game were for 5 yards, and he lost like 6. So, he had those 2 touchdowns. Quinn Shawn, 17 carries, 85 yards, about as balanced as it gets. They in total ran for 181 yards. It's 5.8 yards a carry. If you do that against any team, you're going to win a lot of games. And you have to credit the offensive line, and I'm going to give credit to our favorite assistant.
Oh,
he deserves it. Justin Fry. Justin Fry, I'm giving you your flowers. I have been a staunch critic of you. I have not liked how you've been able to develop these offensive linemen or recruit on the recruiting trail. But damn it, you deserve some credit for what you've done with this offensive line, with the injuries that they've suffered, how they've come together over specifically these last 2 playoff games. I was completely blown away with how well they played. Not just opening up run holes, but also protecting Will Howard. It was strange because, on that final drive might have been the second final drive, I don't remember. Will Howard definitely got sacked. Like Luke Montgomery got beaten, he got sacked, but they didn't credit it as a sack. They credited it as a negative Will Howard rush because I guess he was moving forward at the time.
Yeah.
So officially, Ohio State did not give up any sacks in that game.
2 straight games in a row.
Yeah, 2 straight games in a row. So I'm giving all my flowers to Fry, the whole offensive line. You and I were both concerned whether or not they could do that for a second game in a row. And
I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
And just to backtrack real quick, talking about those about like Jeremiah and the receivers, like Mecca had a good game. And I also want to credit Cardinal Tate real quick. Cardinal Tate has had 1 catch in these playoff games each.
Yep.
The unselfishness of him is to be commended. It really is. But
before you move on from Tate, we'll talk about a preview of Texas later, but I think he's going to be used a lot more against Texas. I think they're going to use him.
I think people are sleeping on him, man. I think that people are like no one can stop our wide receivers right now with Mecca and Jeremiah, but it would behoove of these teams to not think that Cardinal Tate won't go out there and just get 100 on you real quick. He can easily do that. But Travion, that run was just I think that run was probably the most important touchdown of that game because it put a nail in the coffin, but it was just everything you need to see in that moment with Ohio State in this game. Judkins, I was very happy that he had a good game. Very happy he had a good game. He had some tough runs in that game. And I think by that time,
it was strange that he got a lot more carries. Like he got 9 more carries than Henderson did, and Henderson was clearly the more effective back. I
think that this season, and I think you probably agree with this. I think this season the reason Judkins has gotten more carries is because he's built a little. I think he's built a little tougher, a little stronger. He's had seasons where he's gone through had a bunch of carries, but also in these games, I think they knew when you get late in this season for the playoffs, we were going to need Travion for situations like this and in the Tennessee game. And I think the fruits of their
fair point.
Yeah, like the fruits of that.
He's built more to take more hits. You're right.
Yeah. And now when it comes to the playoffs and guys are never, I don't think anyone's as healthy as Ohio State right now. Of course, we're missing our 2 linemen, but I think we're very healthy right now.
Yeah.
Now the offensive line. What else can you say? It's and even with that Michigan loss, let's think about this. You look at Michigan's defensive line, Tennessee's defensive line, and Oregon's defensive line. You give up 1 sack between those 3 defensive lines. You give up 1 sack. It's a good job by Justin Fry. No, that's not good. Great job by Justin Fry. Sir, you saved your job. Now get some better. Now do better recruiting.
Now get some good recruits, please.
Yeah, and then good job on Chip Kelly for scheming around the offensive line.
I just want to shout out Donovan Jackson, moving from guard to tackle and not missing a beat.
He's made a lot of money. He has made a lot of money this season.
Yeah.
Because going from guard to tackle is not easy, because playing guard in the NFL is it's a dime a dozen thing. You can find a guard easy in the NFL. Playing tackles was hard, and for him to go against the defensive ends that he's had to go up against this season, just spectacular. Luke Montgomery, he had that one play with him, he basically gave up a sack or whatever, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But another game where he playing good, broken nose, busted lip, don't matter, dub.
Yeah.
That's an Ohio kid who next year he's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be, I think, one of the better guards in the nation next year. The rest of the offensive line, someone I've been very critical with Fryer. Dude,
he's been okay this season. Yeah.
Good job. That offensive line, man, I'm very proud of them. The tight ends are blocking their ass off too.
And let me shout out that very first play. G. Scott, great scheme, great play call to come out with the Rose Bowl and just throw it to G. Scott when he just leaks out and no one's there. I thought that was a great way to start the game, and not a way anyone else would have thought how they started. You're thinking, okay, then throw it to Jeremiah, first player, they're going to hand it off. Nope, leak out G. Scott for 30 yards. So I love that.
Yeah, the offensive play calling right now is, you would think after 12 games they would have nothing left in the bag.
Chip was fantastic in this game, and we talked about it coming into the playoffs, and not just this game, but against Tennessee. We both thought they were going to be more aggressive in the play calling because there's nothing left to lose at this point. You're going to go out, and if you go down because you were too aggressive, so be it. You want to go out trying to get the ball to your best players, and if your best isn't good enough, you can live with that. But you do not want to. You don't want to lose a game without trying to get the ball to your best players often enough, and that's what they did against Michigan. Chip Kelly's owned that; he's worn it, and now he's learned from it. And the games he's called in each of the last two contests, I mean, it's been great because, they've scored 42 and 41 points. There's clearly not been a defense that could stop them. And
we could have dropped 60 on Oregon. We really could have.
Oh, yeah.
60 on
For sure. And, I don't know if there's much left to say here about the offense. If you've got anything else, I'd love to move to the defense.
No, I was going to say something about Ryan Day, but I'll wait till we're done with the defense.
Okay. Well, the defense, again, lights out just like they were against Tennessee. So many players to shout. Jack Sawyer, multiple batted balls down at the line of scrimmage, did not let Dylan Gabriel really do much of anything. I know he had, he didn't have like a ton of tackles. He only had 2 tackles, but they were both sacks. When he got his arms around the ball carrier, they were impactful. The team as a whole, 8 sacks against Dylan Gabriel. 8. That's a monster number. And a lot of those were because they adjusted. They adjusted early on with Cody Simon was a spy. And, we talked about not allowing Dylan Gabriel to beat you with his feet. He started beating him for his feet a little bit, and then Jim Knowles put the X-nay on that. Simon was a great spy. He was all over the field. 11 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. There's a reason he was a defensive MVP. He was all over the place. And the last guy I'd like to shout out specifically is Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs was excellent. He probably dropped like 2 or 3 interceptions, but they were tough ones to get. He was diving for those balls, but he was not letting anyone get by him in terms of coverage. He had 3 tackles as well. So the defense as a whole, and actually, you know what? I will shout out one more guy, Denzel Burke, because of how much the first game against Oregon was his worst game as a collegiate player, and there's no doubt about it. And for him to get his ass torched like that and come back and only have 1 single target against them, and it was in the 4th quarter, it was an incompletion, hats off to you, my man.
We'll start with Denzel. Man, I didn't understand. Well, I get it for trolling reasons, but all season everyone was just to harp on him, and all these Oregon fans talking about, well, when he sees E. Stu and Trayshawn Holden and the rest of them, like, what's he gonna do? I said, God, I don't think you understand. Like, Denzel Burke is still one of the best cover corners and tackling corners, but one of the best cover
Yeah.
corners in college football. Like, he's not. Like, what do you like? You think he's gonna play like that again? Now, I was very nervous, but I was very confident in that there's no way he could play that bad again. There just was no way. He was shut down that game. Someone else that I think, man, we could probably shout out everyone on this defense, honestly, but Igman Nosen,
Yeah.
shut down. And then, I mean, like you said, Caleb Downs was everywhere. And just once again showing, like, his impact doesn't come in the stat sheet. It doesn't come in the stat sheet.
Yep.
That guy is the best defensive player in college football. There's only so many safeties that I've seen like him in my lifetime. Eric Berry.
I mean, you think of Ed Reed. You think of, I mean, hell, even Kyle Hamilton was pretty darn good for Notre Dame, and he's really good for the Ravens now. It's
who's
Bob Sanders.
I can name so many Miami safeties. He's one of the most elite safeties to ever come through college
Sean
football.
Taylor, Miami safety.
Yeah, Sean Taylor, yeah. And then Lathan Ransom, my goodness. He was out there cracking skulls. That's exactly if Lathan Ransom was back in the medieval days, he would have been the guy walking around on his horse with the biggest axe and swing around chopping heads off. That's what he would have been.
The defense in general was physical.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second game in a row where we've seen multiple players from the other team go out due to injury just because of how physical the defense was. And, there was a guy I want to shout out that you thought was going to be one of the impact players in this game. That was Tyleik Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He was blowing things up in the middle, not allowing them to get the run game going. He was pushing the pocket back, so Dylan Graybill had to scramble to the outside. He was a wrecker. Again, he had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Not a massive game, but it just anywhere where the ball was in the middle, it just seemed like he was there.
Right.
And we also talked about whether or not JT and Jack could have a good game together again. They had a great game against Tennessee. This game, they had 4 sacks between them.
Dude,
JT, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks.
I can't believe what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. I mean, if the defensive line keeps playing this way, where they're just going to be wrecking everything at the line of scrimmage, Texas has no chance. Notre Dame / Penn State has no chance. I mean,
they'll get ran off the field. Notre Dame will get ran off the field.
It's what the defense has been doing has been incredible. I am so glad that they rebuilt this defense after the first Oregon game. And really what it came down to was Jim Knowles won the fight between him and Larry Johnson. Jim Knowles won the power struggle.
Yes.
And we're seeing why. Because he can make the defense do things like this. And when you've got a defense like this, you can trust your offense to take deep shots, early in the games. Because even if they don't pan out, you're still going to be fine because your team's not going to get that many points.
Oh, for sure. And I was really happy that Tylee played very well. He like you said, man, he blew everything up in the middle. Those guards in the interior of the offensive line could not handle him. Jack and JT just game wreckers out there. Caden Curry came in and got a sack. That was nice to see. And that was when he had to go get that one. He had to earn that.
I think it was late in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. It was late in the game, and he ran around for like 3 seconds and got him, and I was happy. Looking forward to next year seeing him and Kenyatta Jackson Jr. It was a very dominant performance. Couldn't ask for more out of these guys. They've exceeded my expectations here in the playoffs. I'm sorry that I picked you guys last second, but I'm very sorry that I ever doubted you guys. I didn't mean it. I love you guys. I caught my today my manager at work. He you should have saw his face. He caught me singing Carmen, Ohio at work. Like that, I'm on cloud 9 right now.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One more player I want to shout out, and it's somebody that has given us the most concern out of any player that we've talked about, and that's Jaden Fielding. Jaden Fielding went 2 for 2 with his field goals. He made a 46-yarder.
Yeah.
And he made another one from like 38. 2 for 2, and those aren't necessarily long field goals, but those were longer than what we thought he could make.
No,
And you saw
46, I didn't think he could make.
I didn't think so either. And you saw it on Ryan Day's face when he made it. You know, the camera panned when he gave like a fist bump right afterwards because he knew how big that was, not just for the team, but for Fielding's confidence to know that he can make that in a pressure game like this. So shout out to him. I know he's been doing a lot of work since the Michigan, you know, that 56-yard field goal against Tennessee at the end of the first half was a tough look, but I didn't think they should have tried that anyway. They probably should have thrown a Hail Mary. But shout out to him. He made both his field goals, and hopefully he can bring that confidence for the rest of the playoff here.
Congratulations to Jaden Fielding. No, that was a great game he played. He played a great game, and I think that was very important for him, like you said, for him to see that in his confidence, because you see the offensive side of the ball having an A game, you see the defensive side having an A game. Now are you going to do your part?
Yep,
and he did.
He did. So there are a couple other things from this game. I know you saw the social media things that were going around on the sideline, specifically with Devin Sanchez and Tim Walton on the sideline, talking about, that belt to ass, and talking about those recruits on the other side who decided to flip at the last second.
For shoe deals. For shoe deals.
I could not have loved it more. Because that's, you know, I'm here for that. Especially with someone like Nima Ford, who was a flip-flopper for months and months.
Yep.
If it wasn't going to be Oregon, it was Auburn. But no, I'm still committed to Ohio State. And he goes to Oregon to sign a shoe deal. And there's some clips coming out of him not looking too great in some of these, you know, late season games that he was playing. And now look, it made me feel great that all of a sudden those recruits had to sit there and be like, oh, shit. Yeah. We just got beat by the team I was thinking about going to. Yikes.
And I love it. I truly love, because here's the thing. Shout out to Devin Sanchez and his mom, Mama Sanchez, and his dad. They are Buckeyes. They have been probably one of the greatest recruiters in Ohio State history from my viewpoint. And did you see Devin Sanchez's Instagram?
Oh yeah.
Sure. Dude,
tag
Dorian Brew, all
tag
of you.
Dorian, Neem, Trey McNutt, Cleveland product. I'll tag you too.
I love that. Just the camaraderie that not just the team but the recruits have. You got Jermaine Matthews out there saying that's my head coach. You know, hey, watch how you talk about him.
Yep.
Like this is a team that after that debacle in Columbus, they have gone to back for Ryan Day. They have gone to back for him.
Yeah, they're going to back. Yeah.
And I think it's very clear right now. They're on a mission. This is like they said, this is a business trip. Will Howard said it at the Tennessee game, and they're treating it as such.
Yep.
And I hate the thought process of this. Okay. The thought process of Ohio State needed that loss. If you ask me 10 times out of 10, I want that win.
Yep.
But damn it, it woke something up.
Look, I will never say I would like a Michigan loss to wake this team up and play good to playoffs. That will never come out of my mouth. I will say it's undeniable that it stirred something in this team that I don't think we thought they had.
Yep.
This is the team that we thought we were getting at the beginning of the season. When they were saying national championship or bust, this is what we thought we were getting on the field every week. You know, this is the product that we thought we were going to see. And it took 13 games, but they finally got there. And now the way this team is playing and the way the bracket's shaking out, I started looking tickets for Atlanta. Now I'm not going to totally get ahead of myself here because they've still got a pretty good football team to play here in Texas. Probably the best team left in the bracket besides Ohio State. But if they play like they did the last two games, there is no team that can stop them. Just none.
No. And based off what I just saw out of Texas.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this up from Sage, Ohio, because This right here, I love it. I love it.
Mm.
We have now, they love their win from this earlier season. Oregon loves their win in 2021 with probably our worst defense since the 1960s, or since like we have literally beaten them in two of the three most important games of their program's career or history.
Yeah.
And we do it in spectacular. Oregon fans, when we play you guys, when you were trying to go win a national championship, we beat the living shit out of you.
Yeah.
And that just is what it is. And truth be told, even the 2010 game, the game wasn't as close as the score showed.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And Ohio, look, I'll say this about Oregon fans. They were not nearly as bad as the Tennessee fans. Tennessee fans were insufferable. I've seen a few Oregon fans bitch and moan about the seeding, about how, it was too long of a layoff. We shouldn't have won the Big Ten because they forced us not to play for 3 weeks. Dude, come on. Like, that's
what Ohio. What are we doing here?
Yeah, and you know what?
That's what happened in the 4-team. What are you talking about?
There's been long layoffs for playoff games since it's been incepted, and even before that, the BCS you were waiting 40 days. Like, come on, that's ludicrous. So, I also I'm sure you saw this too. Shout out to Tez Johnson there at the end. Waiting for Will to be done with his interview. Give him his flowers. Tez is a really good player. And I was a little bit surprised they didn't try to get him more involved in different ways, the way Ohio State got Jeremiah involved, moving him around the formation, getting him maybe in some bunch stuff where maybe, Ohio State would lose track of him a little bit. But, because he's their best player. And it was strange they didn't try to use him more. But I thought that was a cool moment at the end of the game.
Well, speaking of that, shout out. It's terrible that I'm forgetting his name right now. Our Nickelback,
Jordan Hancock.
Thank you. Shout out to Jordan Hancock. Shout out to him. That's your guy. And I'm very. I can't wait to watch the All 22 because whatever Jim Knowles was doing with that secondary, Dylan Gabriel, it looked like he had no idea what he was looking at. He had no idea. And so I'm very interested to see what he was doing, man. Like when Ohio State's playing this way, no one can beat them. And if you don't mind, I want to talk about Ryan Day real quick. Yeah,
no, you go ahead.
Let's start with now the guy. He is 3-3 now in the playoffs. He still has a Michigan monkey he has to go off his back. Still hasn't won the Big Ten title in 5 years. But that big game narrative, I don't want to hear any more of that. I don't want to hear any more of that. The guy we talked about when Ryan Day goes for broke. And when his back's against the wall. And I truly believe that some of the way that he has some of the things that he has gone through in his life, he coaches that way. Like the same way I believe that he can be a little emotional for the Michigan game and it gets into his head. The same way I believe when that guy is has his back against the wall, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. And you come out against Tennessee, you drag them through the mud. And then you come out against Oregon and you didn't put them 6 feet under, you put them 12 feet under.
Yeah.
And after everyone was saying, I was hearing that everyone kept saying that Dan Lanning is a better coach than him. Everyone kept saying that. It doesn't look close to me.
As someone who is and I'll wear it, a Ryan Day hater, after the 4th straight loss to Michigan, I wanted him fired. I said nothing less than a national championship will save his job. We're halfway there for that to happen. But I'll say this. To have his team play the best football that they've played probably in 2 or 3 years in these last 2 games, when you're right, his backup was against the wall and the walls were closing in on him. That tells me something. The team has rallied around him because they heard the outside noise. Maybe I'll credit myself for bullying them into playing better after bullying and getting.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So, he definitely deserves a lot of credit for how he's been able to refocus the team and get them to focus all of their energy into Tennessee and then into Oregon, and now they're going to shift their focus to Texas.
By the way, I love that you're a Lion Day because listen, I can own it, dude. I hold Ryan Day's hand through the fire. That's what I do. Dude, listen, I'm a Ryan Day fan.
We got good cop, bad cop going on here. Then you're the good cop. You're holding them. Telling I'm the one who needs results. And if he wins this national championship, which now they're unabashedly the favorite to do, based on what's happening around,
it's almost even money. Yeah,
if he's able to get them all the way to win a national championship, he's got a job here for 5-6 years. After this. Even if he continues, I mean, he's still got to beat Michigan. That's still a problem. Let me rephrase. He's got at least for 2 or 3 more years until he beats Michigan. But that's still better than what I thought was going to happen. And now the way he has turned this thing around is not something I saw coming. I thought, coming into this, I thought we could beat Tennessee. I did not think they were going to beat Oregon. But once they beat Tennessee in a fashion that they did, that showed me, whoa, wait a minute. This is a different team. Maybe they can beat Oregon. And then did this against Oregon.
Give yourself credit. You said you thought they might blow them out. There was a tail end. You thought they might handle them. I think you said handle them or something.
I said they would handle them if they played like they did against Tennessee. I did not think they were actually
I meant the Tennessee game. You thought
that game.
Really confident about it.
Yeah, that game I thought could get out of hand pretty fast, but it did.
They put up more of a fight than Oregon did.
I mean, honestly, so did Indiana, by the way. Those SEC haters saying, "Oh, you don't deserve it." By the way, the SEC is taking a bath, and we'll get to that here later.
Yeah.
But again, we've covered a lot here over this specific game. I don't know if there's something else you want to bring up, but I will. The last thing I want to say about the Rose Bowl is this team clearly came in with a defined game plan that they knew would work, and they didn't stray from it, and they came out and they dominated that game plan. And if they continue to do that, they will win a national championship, because what these last 2 games have shown me and shown everyone else in the country is that they are the most talented team, bar none. We thought that at the beginning of the year, but now when they've actually been able to put it all together, they are by far the most talented team out there.
Without a question. And me, right? I'm always in spaces, and I had Oregon fans telling me that I had Oregon fans saying they had more depth than us. Where did
that depth come up when all of a sudden they started losing guys left and right? Jordan James.
You know what? Well, did you hear on the broadcast why Jordan James went out?
Yeah,
that was after the Lathan hit.
Yeah,
but I've told them, I said I don't fear their second running back, and I think he averages less than 4 yards a carry this season. I didn't.
You mentioned before the game how short their corners were, and you knew we were just going to carve them up, and it's not like they have taller guys behind them.
Listen, when you bring out 5'9" guys, I'm 5'9". It's not going to work.
Yeah,
it's not going to work. The linebackers, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember their linebackers in this game. I don't remember.
They were non-existent.
Yeah, they're non-existent. Exactly. Mateo Uyunglele and Jordan Birch. Now,
no show.
They kept telling. Listen, I told them. I said, listen, I'll give you guys your defensive ends are better pass rushers. Ours are better run defenders. I take that back. I take all that shit back.
Yeah,
they're just flat out. I think ours are flat out better. I think ours are better.
The fact that they couldn't do that, they couldn't do anything against a mismatched offensive line, missing 2 All-Americans, that's embarrassing for them, quite frankly.
Yep.
They should be embarrassed.
Yep. And you're facing a guy, Luke Montgomery, in his second start. Like it was just so impressive, man. The words can't describe how I feel about this win.
Well, then to wrap it up with a bow here, then Oregon is a really good team. Let's shout them out for the season they had.
Yeah,
they won the Big Ten in their first year in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
They went undefeated through the regular season. I mean, they did beat Ohio State in the regular season.
Yep.
They beat a really good Penn State team who's still in the CFP, and obviously they got a bunch of recruits, so they're not hurting for their future. No. They look good, and they had a good year this year. Mm. It was just when push came to shove, and it was time for both teams to play their A game, they just couldn't be on the same field.
Yeah,
Ohio State's just that much better, and I don't know if you should necessarily be disappointed in that. You just got beat by the best. I firmly believe that.
No, I agree with you. I've had a lot of fun. I'm probably not done, to be honest with you. I'm probably gonna keep talking shit for the next couple of days. But I think just like me, you're a college football purist. The regular season does mean something.
Yeah.
Winning the Big Ten title means a lot. You went through the schedule. You beat Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan in one season. That's impressive, man. Going 13-0 was impressive. It's not easy. If it was easy, more people would do it.
Yep.
And
they're not going away. I think they're going to be a perennial Big Ten power now, especially with the NIL money they got. They're not going away. Well,
I think Ohio State and Oregon are going to be number 1 and number 2 for the next few years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats to you guys on your season. Congrats to that team. Congrats to Dan Lanning on their season. Congrats to the Oregon fans. I think you should be proud of your team. You should be proud of your team for what they accomplished. It's just that when push came to shove, and I understand people don't like when people say, "Oh, how," like when Will Howard or someone like me or someone like you, Ryan, says Ohio State beat themselves and probably both their losses. Well, man, when you lose by 1 on the road and then we step a mud holding in a neutral field, that's why we feel that way. But I don't want to take away credit or take credit away from what they accomplished this season. It was impressive.
Yep. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the other college football games, the other playoff games, because that'll kind of tie into what Ohio State has to look forward to. But first, I want to start out with the Boise State-Penn State game, on New Year's Eve. And I was more bullish on Boise State than you were.
Right. You were right.
And I was hoping to see a little bit more fire from the Broncos, but Ashton Jeanty just couldn't get anywhere. And you were right. They hadn't seen a rush defense like Penn State, and they bottled them up. And ultimately, that's why they lost the game. I mean, 31-14. It really wasn't even that close.
You don't think so? While I was watching it, I was at a New Year's Eve party, and while I was watching it, I was like,
me too.
I was like, damn it, Ryan was kind of right. I thought Boise shot themselves in the foot a little bit in that game.
A little bit, but I wasn't like in the fourth quarter. At no point did I think they were going to come back.
Yeah, and Madsen played better than I thought he would. I'll give him that. He played better than I thought he would.
Yeah, and Penn State's offense was, again, they were able to move the ball against Boise State. I mean, the only offense they'd face up similar was Oregon. Obviously, that didn't end well. They allowed 37 points to them. So, again, shout out to Boise State for a great season as well. Number 3 seed. That'll probably never happen again because they're going to change the seeding rules probably next year.
Yes.
But they should still be proud for what they did, coming out of the Mountain West and, playing pretty darn good football. They were a good team this year. They deserve to be there. Well, I want to make that abundantly clear. They deserve to make the college football playoff. Maybe not deserve to be the 3 seed, but you deserve to be there. You deserve to be in the 12-team field.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely deserve to be there. I thought that this game, maybe even more bullish on Ashton Jeanty should have won the Heisman. I just think that without him, that was maybe a 5-6 win team.
Yeah.
But yeah, Penn State.
I mean, we know Penn State. Ohio
I
State played
don't
them.
know. I don't know what to make of them right now. I don't.
I agree, just because the path that they've had so far has not been the most battle tested. I mean, SMU, Boise State, back-to-back games. They're going to get tested next week, and we'll get to that here in a second. But I agree with you. I don't necessarily know what to make of them. I don't really have much else to say with that specific bowl game. I don't know if you've got anything else. If not, then we'll move on. Honestly, I want to move on to the game actually that just happened prior to us coming on the air. That was Notre Dame and Georgia. And you and I both thought Notre Dame was going to win this game without too much trouble, and that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
23-10, Notre Dame victory for those who missed it. Georgia's offense was gross. We knew it would be. Notre Dame's offense, quite frankly, is actually grosser, but they had the big plays when they needed to, specifically on defense and special teams. Kickoff return for a touchdown to start the second half. Once that happened, I turned to my friend and said, it's game over.
I got home right when that happened. Yeah,
so, if you missed the first, which obviously you missed the first half, so Notre Dame's defense was able to just control Georgia up at the front of the line of scrimmage. I mean, Georgia, they couldn't run the ball. Gunnar Stockton was put in a position where he was going to have to make quick reads, and he couldn't really do it. His wide receivers did him no favors. Again, most drops in the country all season long.
That's the worst wide receiver unit I've ever seen in my life.
They had a guy drop a wide open pass that would have netted them 30 yards. They could have scored a touchdown, off that, and instead he dropped it. Stockton had a fumble right before the half when they were trying to be aggressive, and that ended up being the nail in the coffin because Notre Dame scored a touchdown in the very next play, and then that got them a 13-3 lead at half. And quite frankly, Georgia's offense just wasn't good enough to catch up. So Notre Dame, I think you and I both thought they were going to be the better team. They're really stout on defense. They can run the ball. Riley Leonard running the ball is a problem. And it was good to see another SEC foe go down after all of the SEC shit we heard getting to the playoff. Add that to the fact that Ohio State housed Tennessee. Michigan controlled Alabama throughout that ball game. And then South Carolina lost to Illinois. I mean, did the SEC get too many games or too many teams in the CFP? People are asking.
Maybe so. The Notre. I saw the second half, and then I checked the stats out. Saw some of the highlights from the first half. Didn't get to see it in whole like you did, but what happened exactly happened. Or what we thought would happen. I saw the Georgia Tech game and I said, okay, Notre Dame looks like a better version of that. And then you're talking about a new quarterback who he started out pretty decent, like 8 for 9, 9 for 9 or something like that. But it wasn't, I think, like 5.5 per.
Yeah, but
But you're talking about that with a wide receiver unit that can't catch. They can't catch. And you're going against one of the best secondaries in football. There's just no way that I didn't understand why people thought Georgia was going to win that game.
The reason why, I mean, they pinned it on their defense, which they have a really good defense.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's not the same Georgia defense that they've had in the past.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near the same caliber of defense. And when you have an offense that's just that hamstrung by your quarterback play, it's just not going to lead to anything great.
Yeah, you're going to be in the field a lot.
And that leads us here into the game that matters to Ohio State fans the most, and that was the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between Texas and Arizona State. Texas ends up winning the game in double overtime, 39-31. In a game, quite frankly, they should not have won. Texas blew a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter. Cam Scatterboot tied it up there at the end. There was a horrendous non-targeting call. I don't understand. By definition, that's targeting. The guy goes up into the head. It's a defenseless receiver.
Yeah.
Don't really understand how they let that go. But in the end, Arizona State was one play away from winning this game in the first overtime. They had a 4th and 13, and they allowed a Quinn Ewers touchdown pass to put it in a double overtime, and then they scored in the first place to play double overtime. Sam Levitt threw a pick to end the game. And now, because of that, it'll be Ohio State, Texas in the Cotton Bowl. What did you think of this game?
I had turned it off when Texas went up 16. Turn it off. And then that's when I started going on my way to my parents' house. I went with my brother-in-law's sister. My sister was watching it. And she tells me what the score was. I said, "You're joking, right?" Dude, the Sky will have a claim to possibly being the best running back in the nation this season.
No, but maybe second best.
Dude,
I mean, he was a dog in that game. I mean, he 30 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he threw a touchdown pass.
I think he had 250 plus total yards.
Yeah.
But I mean, going to that game here, this is why I ask. He plays different competition.
8 catches for 99 yards, too. I mean, yeah.
Like he plays different competition this season than Genty. I'm not saying he's more talented than Genty. I'm just saying better. He had 1,500 rushing and 500 receiving as a power back. 500 receiving. It was impressive. I thought that Arizona that call on targeting. When I originally saw it, I still feel this way. I didn't think it was targeting. But if you go by the letter of the law,
look, if you're going to call target, look.
Yeah, it's targeting.
We watched Sean Wade get called for a horrendous targeting penalty
against that callback.
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the non-call against Marvin Harrison in the Peach Bowl against Georgia. It's
based off that.
I am frustrated with the rule. It's a dumb rule. They need to have more defined parameters. If that's not targeting, I don't know what the hell is. I just don't.
No, like I said, like based off the letter of the law, yes, that was targeting. Would I have made that call? No, I wouldn't have thrown the flag. But when you look at some of the targeting calls that were called or not called in big time moments, like this one was, there's no way you can let that call go. There's no way you can let that call go.
Yeah, you got to call that.
Yeah, that was tough. Texas, man, they're looking fraudulent. I am happy. I picked Arizona State to cover. I thought they would cover this in this game. Quinn Ewers, man.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and jump right into our Ohio State Texas preview then, because you have talked about how worried about Quinn Ewers you are, and I've shared a similar sentiment. His stats look a little bit better in this game than what they really were because of the 2 overtimes. He finished 20 of 30 for 322 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. His pick was a bad decision. I mean, the Arizona State player made a phenomenal pick, diving around to get that pick, but it kind of threw in the double coverage. There were 2 guys there, and Arizona State had already started gaining momentum by that point, and that firmly solidified their momentum. I don't think this team has what it takes to beat Ohio State, and everyone talked about their defense. They gave up 31 points to Arizona State after giving up 24 to Clemson. And now you're about to go up against a Lamborghini offense in Ohio State that's got weapons all over the field. Their offensive line's been beat people up, so they can run the ball well as anybody. I truly don't know how Texas stops this Ohio State offense, and I don't think Quinn Ewers has played well enough to be able to carve up Ohio State's defense to make that side of the ball much of an issue either.
No, for sure. And mind you, in the Clemson game, you gave Cade Klubnik in Clemson, who's a running team, can't really pass. You gave him a career day.
Yeah, he had a career day. He threw for over 320 yards.
So you see that it was. I don't know if Clemson on defense is going to be able to keep Ohio State from getting to 30. I don't know if they're going to stop them from getting to 30. Quinn Ewers, I don't think he trusts his eyes right now. I don't think his head coach trusts him. And I think if Ohio State, Ohio, I think Jim Knowles is going to come after Quinn Ewers very early. He's going to do it very early. And if Texas can't, first off, if Texas can't run the ball, which Ohio State doesn't allow anyone to run the ball. I put out some of my favorite stats from the first two games of the playoffs right now. Ohio State's giving up 1.9 a carry right now. 1.9. That's insane.
Yep.
And so if they can't do that, if you have a quarterback, and I love Quinn Ewers, I think he's actually a pretty good quarterback. I just think he has mental struggles, man. He has very bad mental lapses. And then, what did you think about? What did you think when Sarkisian was sitting there talking to his kicker?
That was weird. I was telling my friends, like, why would you ever talk to a kicker? Like, this is gonna be the biggest kick of this kid's life, and you're just putting more pressure on him.
Dude,
just let him be.
He was sitting there giving him a speech.
Yeah, I mean, Bert Auburn missed 2 key field goals that could have won them the game. And if this game comes down to it, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but the special teams might be a tie or in favor of Ohio State based on that.
James Fielding is a better kicker than him.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that. And specifically about Ewers, I do think they're going to come after him a little bit. They're not going to have to spy him like they did Dylan Gabriel, so that frees up Cody Simon to be more of a free rusher. And the way the defensive line is just pushing back the pocket, I think Ewers has had issues with arm strength, throwing the ball, sideline to sideline, specifically to the far hash. If he's got far hash throws he's trying to get, those defensive backs are going to close on that. That's going to be a pick, maybe even a pick 6. So I really like it. I would have loved to play Arizona State, but I still don't think that Texas poses too much of a threat right now. The only thing that concerns me is if their defensive line remembers that people said they were good at one point, and then they start playing like it, and then they start controlling the line of scrimmage, and Ohio State's offensive line somehow doesn't sustain what we've seen the last 2 weeks. But at this point, they've given me enough for me to trust them, quite frankly, even against the Texas defensive line that's supposed to be pretty good. So, I guess the only other thing that does concern me is this game's going to be played in Dallas. They're going to have a home field advantage. It's going to be Texas people all over the place.
I don't care. I mean, let me tell you why I'm not worried about that. Ryan Day and domes. If there's one thing I'm confident in is Ryan Day and domes. As long as Devin Brown and Lincoln Kinnels are on the quarterbacks.
Fair, but again, that will cause some issues. But Ohio State fans travel, so it's not certainly going to be an overwhelming. It'll probably be 60-40, 65-35, somewhere in that range, just because of the proximity to the arena. But I really like where Ohio State is, and this is a revenge game for Ohio State. There are players on that team who were teammates with Quinn Ewers. They know they left Ohio State. They knew he came just to collect an NIL paycheck and bounce back home. They want to make him feel it. There are guys, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, they came in the same class as him, and they're going to want to tear his head off and then meet each other at the quarterback. So I can't wait to see what they do to Quinn. I really can't.
And not to mention, so maybe I'm a sicko for holding on to a grudge this long. Maybe I am. I still haven't gotten over how in 2006, in 2005.
Are you talking about the Ryan Hamby game?
Huh?
You're talking about the Ryan Hamby game?
The Vince Young game.
But
yeah.
I mean, in that game also,
I know what you mean.
Ryan Hamby dropped he dropped that easy touchdown that they could have won the game.
This is why I always get angry about that game. I truly believe if Troy Smith was allowed to play the whole game, remember, we lose that game 21-14. If he's able to play that whole game, I don't know how I remember this. During the broadcast, they said whoever wins this game is probably going to go see USC in the national championship. And don't forget, that year we went and saw Brady Quinn and them and popped them in the mouth. And I truly believe had Troy Smith played that game, we would have gone on to play for the national title. I've never forgiven Texas for that. I'm still not over that bowl loss to Colt McCoy.
I mean, that wasn't a very good Ohio State team that played in that 09 Fiesta Bowl, if I'm being honest.
And they should have won, and they still should have won. So it's rare. It's been a long time since we get to play Texas. It's a rare matchup that we get to see here in college football, kind of like Indiana Notre Dame.
Well, you know what's funny? The loser of this game will play back-to-back games against the other team because these two teams open college football next year. They play on August 30th. They're the first game that they play.
Yeah, you're right.
So if Texas loses to Ohio State, they're going to play them. That'll be the first team they play next year. So it'll be back-to-back Ohio State teams they play. Same thing with Ohio State if they happen to lose this game. So right now, extremely early prediction. How do you see this game going?
I think because this will be the best offensive. This will be probably the best offensive line we've seen all season. So I do believe they'll be able to stay on the field a little bit longer, but it's not going to matter. I'm going to take Ohio State 38, Texas 20.
I have Ohio State 35, Texas 17. The line right now is 6. Yeah, the line is 6. I grabbed it yesterday. It was at 6.5 because I was afraid it was going to jump up even more. I'm kind of mad I got that extra half point. But I just don't see any way that Texas is going to be able to keep up with this offense. I just don't. From what we've seen from Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard, there's no way they're gonna be able to cover those guys and make a big game. And like I mentioned before, I think this could be a Carnell Tate game. You know, they've been kind of keeping him quiet a little bit with all of the attention that's going to be on Smith and Egbuka. I think that they're going to be able to have Tate be more wide open, and I could see him having 50, 60 yards receiving in this game.
If he has 50, 60 yards, this is a wrap.
Yeah,
that's a wrap.
Well, to be honest, I don't think this game's going to be close at any point. I think Ohio State's going to kind of jump on their throats like they have in each of the last two games. And I think those 17 points, maybe 10 of them come in the first half, and there's like a second half touchdown that doesn't really mean a whole lot. This is the first time this season since the Oregon game that I have been overly confident. Maybe I was overly confident against Michigan. I don't know. But this is the first time since then that I have felt that Ohio State is by far and away the better team and shouldn't have any issues.
Yep. No, I agree with you on that. And I think Texas does have the ability to get to a fast start. And I think that they'll stick with Ohio State for about a half. But by the time that third quarter rolls around, I mean, we know how Ohio State is the best second half team in the country, especially in the third quarter. They give up less than a point in the third quarter this season. So
that third quarter touchdown Oregon gave up was the only touchdown that have given up all year in the third quarter.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. Last thing before we get out of here, if Ohio State does in fact win this game, who would you rather have, Notre Dame or Penn State? I'll tell you my answer. I would rather have Penn State because Ohio State, they just own that program. They own them. Mm-hmm. Ryan Day is deep inside James Franklin's brain, like Michigan is deep inside Ryan Day's brain. It's that kind of relationship. And I don't think that they would. I mean, we saw in the first game, it was at Penn State. They had a 10-0 lead, and they couldn't do jack with it. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. And I think Ohio State would easily take care of Penn State. Now, I think they're going to end up getting Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's going to win that game, but I would rather have Penn State.
All right. So I'll take it somewhere else. Part of me would want Penn State because I just want to see ESPN in hell and have them see two Big Ten teams at a national championship. That would just make my day. Then when you have Notre Dame, I think that would be more of a historical game.
It would be a bigger brand game.
Yeah, bigger brand game.
Who I'd
rather play? I would rather play Notre Dame.
Interesting.
I think
just because their offense is gross.
Yes, I think Drew Adler has potential in him that is untapped that Riley Leonard can't even sniff to.
He's definitely a better passer. That's undisputable.
And if I just want an easy chip, you're not beating Ohio State running that offense. You just won't. You just can't.
The only difference is with that offense, you can drain the clock, and that was clearly what Michigan was trying to do, and that's what they succeeded in, was keeping the ball away from Ohio State's offense. That's the only way that they could win that game.
But those boys were blue and gold.
Well, sure, and it's close enough to maize and blue where they might. Oh, wait a second.
And by the way, just another little quick jab at Oregon fans. After we scored that 24th point, we could have gone 3-0 the whole rest of the game and still won.
Still wouldn't matter. Well, Garrison, it was a great Rose Bowl victory.
Yeah.
Great.
Ryan Day 2 Rose Bowls. That's a notch.
Yep. And I can't wait to see what the Cotton Bowl brings next Friday. We will be back on Monday for another Primetime Live show. And then we'll get your calls in on next Thursday right before the big game. So bring your comments and calls then. But we'll see you here Monday. And until then, OH.
IO.